Faith Hedgepeth, a 19-year-old student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, had big dreams. A member of the Haliwa-Saponi Native American tribe, she was passionate about education and wanted to become a doctor. Known for her bright smile, driven nature, and deep cultural pride, Faith was admired by friends and loved ones. She lived with her close friend Karina Rosario in an off-campus apartment, and on the evening of September 6, 2012, the two went out to a local club called The Thrill. They returned home around 3 a.m., and by 4:30 a.m., Karina left the apartment, saying she needed space after an argument with her boyfriend. That decision would become critical in the timeline of a murder case that would remain unsolved for nearly a decade. At 11 a.m. on September 7, 2012, Karina returned to the apartment with a friend. What they found was horrifying. Faith Hedgepeth was beaten to death in her bedroom. Her body was half naked and there were signs of a brutal struggle. Blood was everywhere. On the bed, walls, and even a handwritten note found near the body that read, "I'm not stupid bitch jealous." Faith had sustained blunt force trauma to the head, and the autopsy revealed the use of an empty rum bottle as a weapon. She had also been sexually assaulted. One of the strangest elements of the case was a voicemail from Faith's phone. It seemed to have recorded the moments leading up to the murder. The audio was muffled but captured voices arguing, a possible scream, and the sound of a struggle. Experts believed it was accidentally triggered by Faith's phone just before her death. DNA evidence was collected at the scene, including semen and blood, but there was no match in national criminal databases. The case grew cold despite continued efforts from local police and the FBI. The handwritten note, supposedly left by the killer, was analyzed for fingerprints and writing style, but that too led to no suspects. Investigators released a composite sketch based on the DNA profile using advanced predictive technology, but with no clear suspect, the case stalled. Rumors swirled about possible suspects: Faith's ex-boyfriend, Karina's boyfriend, jealous acquaintances, or someone connected to her tribe. But the police remained silent on specific leads. Friends speculated that Karina's ex-boyfriend, who had a history of violent behavior, might be involved. He had sent Faith threatening messages in the past, but DNA collected from the scene did not match him. For years, the absence of answers added to the family's grief. Faith's father, Roland Hedgepeth, made public pleas for justice, never giving up hope that his daughter's killer would be brought to justice. In 2021, almost 9 years later, there was a shocking development. Thanks to advances in forensic genealogy, the DNA from the crime scene was matched to a suspect, Miguel Enrique Salguero Olivares, a 28-year-old man who had lived in the same area at the time of the murder. Miguel was not on anyone's radar. He had no significant criminal history and had never been publicly linked to Faith. However, his DNA was an exact match for the semen found at the crime scene. Miguel was arrested in September 2021 in Durham, North Carolina. At the time of the murder, he was 19 years old, the same age as Faith. He had met her at a party the night before the murder, and some witnesses said they had seen him flirt with her. Faith reportedly rejected his advances. Prosecutors allege that Miguel followed Faith back to her apartment or gained access later that night. Whether it was a failed attempt at a relationship or pure rage remains unclear, but he is accused of beating and sexually assaulting her in a fit of jealous anger. After years of silence, the family finally had a name and face for the person who took their daughter's life. As of 2024, Miguel Salguero Olivares is awaiting trial. He has been charged with first-degree murder and sexual assault. Prosecutors are seeking a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The case has finally moved forward after nearly a decade of anguish and unanswered questions. While the full motive may never be completely understood, authorities believe it was an act of jealousy and rejection turned violent.